So thank you very much. Once again, I welcome you for this information session about Erasmus Plus. And I would like also to thank our colleagues from RSSD for organizing this information session. So basically, through my presentation, I will be going through a brief overview of the Erasmus program, and I will also explain in detail the opportunities under Key Action 1 for student and staff mobilities. And also I'll be explaining some new initiatives that have been incorporated in the Erasmus program recently over the last few years. So basically, when we speak of Erasmus, a lot of people directly think about the individual mobilities, which is one part of the Erasmus program, but it is not only limited to mobilities for the individuals. I introduced this slide to give you the idea of, to present the fact that basically Erasmus is an umbrella program, which incorporates within it key actions 2, 3, and also Déjà Monnaie actions, which are different types of projects which do not necessarily include individual mobilities, but are more of a project format. For the scope of my presentation, I shall be focusing on Key Action 1, the individual mobilities, basically for students and staff. So basically, this applies for the university, but also it applies to the other university. So basically, if your university is participating in Erasmus, this will also apply to you. This gives the kind of the framework within which Erasmus operates. So basically every higher education institution is able to participate in Erasmus if they are awarded what is referred to as an Erasmus Charter for Higher Education. Basically, this is a quality mark that the Commission gives, and it looks into factors such as the capacity to welcome students, the preparation of the courses of study, and to see that kind of it's set out for to host exchange students, also ECTS credits, and different aspects that the Commission sees to ensure a certain level of quality. So basically, the university has renewed its charter in 2020 for the next programming period, 21 to 27. So basically, this for us is the key to be able to participate in Key Action 1, but also in other projects, Key Action 2, Key Action 3, and all the other kind of opportunities under the Erasmus program. Basically, the Erasmus operates within the mobility. The mobility component operates within a structure of interinstitutional agreements, so within which the mobilities can take place, both for staff and also for students. So basically, the different partners agree to the number of students they would be exchanging, the specific areas. Also, to do this, you need to match courses at the different institutions. So there's a level of preparation and discussions that take place before to ensure the smooth running of the mobilities eventually. So basically, Key Action 1 as focus has the individual at its core. So we have the skills, employability, and also a focus on a more sustainable and democratic Europe, basically, and promoting the concept of European citizenship and identity. So basically, because I know that a number of you do hold academic or research posts, I have decided to include some information with regards to staff mobilities. There are basically two types of staff mobilities, teaching and training. Teaching entails a mobility to partner institution and undertaking a minimum of 8 hours of teaching per week or part of. So basically, if you go for 3 days, you would still need to fulfill this 8-hour requirement. applications. And there is also the option of having a combined teaching and training, which would allow the reduction of the teaching component to 4 hours. Members of staff that hold a council appointment are eligible to apply, and the duration of each staff mobility could be anything between 2 days and 2 months. However, unfortunately, due to restrictions of funding, many a times we are forced to accept applications or limit the funding to a week or 2 weeks at maximum to ensure that as many people as possible benefit from these opportunities. And the number of applications usually is quite high, so it's a challenge to kind of balance between the different persons that are interested in these opportunities. Currently, we have a call open for staff mobility for both teaching and training. And it is interested persons can apply on our website. Basically, the application is online. It will require some personal information and also details about the Erasmus mobility you'd like to undertake, and also general information about your experience in Erasmus in general. The eligibility period for mobilities is August to September of next year. So basically it covers the next academic year. And the deadline for applications is the 13th May. Once the deadline closes, basically the applications are then assessed by 2 independent assessors. The marks are consolidated, and then we go to ASGAC, the Grant Staff Allocation Committee, who basically approves the funding being allocated. And the committee is also responsible to decide on certain specific cases. For example, an application received from someone that who will have his term kind of renewed when the mobility will be taking place. So these, in unusual circumstances, decisions pertaining to kind of a bit of, complex situations that might require further discussions. The aim of this grant allocation committee is to ensure transparency in the process. That is very important for us. I have also decided to include some information about student mobility as well, because as Prof. Baldakinos rightly pointed out in his introduction, that even though you might not be benefiting from these opportunities directly, both academics and researchers have a very important role in promoting these initiatives and these opportunities with our students. So basically, I have included a brief overview. There are 2 types of students' mobility for studies and traineeships. Basically, the Erasmus student mobility for studies are generally tied to undergraduate, so where the course is in taught format. And the students have the opportunity to undertake a semester at one of our partner institutions. And basically the credits that they follow there can then be transferred back if they successfully pass the credits in question. Basically, all registered University of Malta students can apply for Erasmus mobilities at the different levels of study that we have. And basically, it's interesting to know that each study cycle basically carries along a 12-month worth of mobilities. And they can be also a combination between studies and traineeship. So basically 12 months for each study cycle. Focusing on traineeships, these are more flexible. They can be part of the course, like a work placement, for example, if we take nursing, for example. It can also be a traineeship for research. But it could also be something more out of the general norm, so to speak, because you might have a situation where students decide to specialize in a very specific area, such as, for example, a management student that wishes to focus on sport management. So he undertakes a traineeship and, you know, to learn more about management in sport, just to give you a practical example. And traineeships tend to be more flexible because they are not directly related necessarily to the course and the program of studies. So basically, as we have said, the Erasmus program operates within a framework, and beyond the framework it also provides very important financial support for the mobilities to take place, and also other types of support, which is now being referred to as inclusion support. So basically, I have amalgamated the information with regards to the funding because much of it is very similar to both students and staff. So basically, the financial support provided is split into elements, the first of which is travel support. And travel support is allocated depending on the distance between point A and point B in kilometers, which is then equated into a respective amount. So for example, if we see the example on the screen, Oslo to Msida would be in the fourth band, sorry. So the person would be entitled to 360 as travel support for the mobility. Apart from travel support, participants would also be eligible to receive individual support. So basically, this is the support for living costs incurred during the mobility. This is very similar to both staff and students, with the difference that staff is a daily rate, and for students, it's a monthly rate, which is then calculated pro rata. So basically, the countries, the destination countries are split into 4, and then depending on the destination, the correct rate is then multiplied by the duration of the mobility. These are the grants provided to students. Again, we'll see the same concept of having the different countries split into different groups depending on the cost of living at the destination country, basically. And then depending on the duration, so for students it's generally longer. We're looking at 2 to 4 months generally in terms of duration, and then the rate is multiplied by the duration, basically. We do issue, at the moment we're in the process of processing the applications received for the main Erasmus call, which generally is launched in January. And basically, we receive applications for both studies and traineeships. So basically, we are at the moment processing the applications received. It's quite, as many of you might know, it's quite a laborious process because basically, especially for studies, we have to, gather the averages for students. So then we rank the students by academic performance, and then we place the placements available at partner institutions accordingly, depending on the academic performance. Usually, basically, what happens when we see that we have leftover funding during the year, we issue what we refer to as a second call for traineeships to give that extra opportunity for students to apply. We try to do it because, for us, it's a way of kind of leaving as many doors and, open for the students to apply and undertake these mobilities. Inclusion support, basically, this is a very recent basically initiative by the Commission also to address mobility participants, both students and staff, that require additional support. We are not necessarily looking at disability. It can be one of the conditions which basically you can receive additional support, but it goes beyond that. It also looks into health-related related conditions which are permanent and which affect kind of the person's ability to undertake a mobility abroad. And additional funds and support can be provided for persons, for mobility participants that do require this inclusion support. Basically, we do include a tick box both for students and for staff, and we take it into account when we are processing the applications. We then verify the claims being made by the participants. So we require backing documents to show the claim, the health conditions being claimed, and the additional support required. And then we liaise, depending on the case, either with our national agency for the funding or else with our partners for the added support that is required for the student, for example. So this is basically for the members of staff in the audience that are staff. Basically, this is our landing page, the International Office landing page. So basically, it's the University of Malta URL/international, and it will lead you to this page. And on this page, you have all the information pertaining to both student mobilities and also the opportunities for staff. You will find the application for the staff mobilities in the second tile. And basically, to close off, I would like to say a few words about the Erasmus International Credit Mobility. So basically, this is also a new initiative provided by the Commission under the Erasmus Plus program. Basically, HEIs have the opportunity to undertake exchanges with partners from non-EU countries. And basically, practically all the world participates, with the exception of a few countries, mainly in the Gulf. And then there are budgets tied to the different regions. So there is Asia, Russia, there is also the South Mediterranean, and other countries that are in the pre-accession process, which currently do not have access to the European bound Erasmus. The application, the funding in many cases, especially to industrial countries, is quite limited. So basically, unfortunately, we are not able to fund too many mobilities with the US, Asia, and so on. So the majority of the funding available is for EU neighboring countries and other developing countries, basically. But if you have collaboration, do contact us and we'll guide you accordingly. Basically, this application is a bit more demanding, and we would kind of have to jointly write the application in terms of the cooperation that is being undertaken with the specific partner. So we have to identify the partners right from the start at application stage. So this works a bit differently than the other European Erasmus. But if you do have cooperation and you want to explore this opportunity, do contact us, we'll guide you as necessary. That is all from my end. I don't know whether there are any questions for me.
If I may ask, I don't know if you hear me.
Yes.
Okay, good. My name is Alexandra Balic. I come from the Faculty of Maritime Studies of the University of Split, and probably we are partners in CEU.
Yes.
Consortium. Yes. So I see that nowadays I'm have the role of Erasmus coordinator, but at the faculty or departmental level.
Yes.
So I've seen that you didn't mention short-term mobilities. It was just in Croatia. It was just launched by our national agency. And last month, actually, we succeeded to send our first student to Cadiz, also one of the I mean, we did our first process of application and sending. So do you have any experience with this? And since it should be easier than, you know, the whole semester mobility, like this classical scheme, do you receive students, do you accept applications for these short-term mobilities? Because it seems that it would be easier and more feasible for students of any level.
Okay, so basically this is very much a new initiative with regards to short-term mobilities. Basically, we don't really have any experience so far, so we're treading carefully, basically. We would like, we are hoping to have the first short-term mobilities within the CEU. So basically, we will use that as basically a sample and kind of a way forward before we open up this opportunity wider within the university. We have received a number of requests, one of which was a very good partnership. However, there was too little time to work on the application. Basically, we were informed only 2 weeks in advance, and it was not sufficient time to basically issue the call for staff mobilities and so on. So we had, you know, to make the difficult decision to pass that opportunity for the time being. But yes, it is, we see a lot of opportunity for the short-term mobilities. But to be honest, we have to kind of, we would like to test it out with our partnership before we take it as a, you know, a larger opportunity for the university, basically.
Since you're saying that you would like to test it, so would you like to test it with us as, I don't know, sending institution and you receiving institution, or vice versa? We are open for.
At the moment, there are discussions because the different partners within the CEU consortium have all agreed to apply for 2 blended IPs. So basically, the different universities are currently looking into what programs we can offer jointly, but basically. So we have to see a bit. The main issue with short-term mobilities is that basically especially these blended intensive programs are tied also to a part virtual and part physical component. So at the moment, we don't have any such courses kind of to use as a test. But definitely, if you have any, if you would like to discuss this further, my contact details are on the screen. Please feel free to kind of drop me an email and we can discuss in further detail. I know there are a number of initiatives, especially with Split, being currently discussed across different levels. So I would be more than happy to look into, you know, and develop further cooperation as necessary.
Well, Victoria, thank you. Actually, my idea was not intensive program, but you know, this blended mobility for from 5 days to 30 days. And the experience we have by now is the student who went to Cadiz in order to do some research with a co-mentor that we found in Cadiz. For her final thesis, on the master level.
On master's level, yes, certainly. But ECTSs have to be tied to blended mobilities.
Exactly.
Yes. That is the problem. I mean, that at the moment, the courses we have don't really, this is a very new concept kind of, so it has to be something that has been developed specifically with this in mind, because you know, we don't have anything that we can use straight away to kind of use these short-term opportunities, basically. So it needs to be developed a bit.
Okay.
But we can discuss. I mean, feel free. That is my email. Even if you, I mean, accidentally don't keep my contact email, feel free to contact Anna, and she'll pass on my contact details.
Yes,
Anna Kozic.
Yes, actually it's easy to find us. Always go to international office, Erasmus, and the contacts are there. Victoria, I'm sure I will not have trouble with finding you. I just wanted to mention that this time we went with the minimum of ECTS credits in the learning agreement. And of course, the mobility has this virtual part and this realistic one, so it's blended, right? It's okay. It's also good to know for you that we are open for this. So in case you have any ideas or any interest from the side of your students, we are open to welcome them. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.